Hello, and welcome to I'm Too Busy. I'm Christina Flach, your host. I'm a celebrity makeup artist and CEO with a passion for all things beauty, wellness, and success. On this show, I'll take you on exciting journeys, sharing personal stories and insights from inspiring entrepreneurs. Together, we will explore manifestation, health, wellness, and the secrets to thriving in life and business. Let's jump in and get inspired. Welcome to I'm Too Busy. I am beyond honored to welcome a true American icon, Steve Garvey. He is a 10-time MLB All-Star, World Series champion, National League MVP, who made history playing first base for the Dodgers and the Padres. But his story goes way beyond baseball diamond. Steve has built a legacy of discipline, leadership, and heart on and off the field. From playing 1,207 consecutive games, racking up over 2,500 hits, four-time Gold Glove winner, to inspiring lives as a businessman, philanthropist, motivational speaker, and most recently, a U.S. Senate candidate. Steve continues to show us what it means to live with purpose and to inspire the next generation. Welcome, Steve. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Great, Christina. That's a great introduction. I'm going to have to hire you now for my speeches or wherever I go. So,
My pleasure. I would be honored.
Hope you don't charge too much.
No, I'll
No,
give
it's
you a
great to be with
special.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you believe that your infield with the Dodgers, with Ron Say, aka the Penguin, at third, Bill Russell at short, and Davey Lopes at second, and yourself at first, is one of the best ever?
I do. I think it's arguably the greatest infield in Major League history, because if you look at it, and it typifies what American baseball is all about. Billy Russell was from Pittsburgh, Kansas, and Davey Lopes from Providence, Rhode Island, Steve Garvey from Tampa, Florida, Ron Say from Tacoma, Washington. And we all came together in the great draft of 1968, which I think has been known as the greatest draft by any team in history. I think 8 or 9 of the players drafted played 9 or more years in the majors, which is phenomenal. But Billy Russell and Davey Lopes were great center fielders. And the Dodgers were always known for developing players at other positions because of their athleticism to fit the needs of the team, during that period. So both of those guys ended up going to short and second. Ron was a natural third baseman. I was originally a third baseman, but got a shoulder separation playing football at Michigan State. Never quite threw the same. But that wasn't my destiny, because on June 23rd of 1973, I'm basically the 24th man on a 25-man team, but pinch hitting pretty good. Walt Austin asked me if I'd ever played first, and I said, "Oh, sure." I played one game in Little League and one game in AAA. I had a bad hamstring. And I started that night against the Reds and got 2 hits and 2 RBIs and dug a ball out of the dirt. And that was the beginning of Steve Garvey, the first baseman, as people know me today.
It was really a remarkable change of a trajectory of your career, that moment, right?
Well, I talk about it frequently, especially when I'm speaking or lecturing, um, about carpe diem, about seizing the moment. God,
Mm-hmm.
life is a journey, and sometimes we take detours. Sometimes we're in the easy pass lane. Sometimes we're stalled. But in that case, my career had stalled, but I was still developing as a hitter, and had been working out, actually at first base and some third base. And when the opportunity came, I was prepared. And I talk about this when I say that when you're asked to do something that maybe you haven't done before, or very little, but the person, whether it's a manager or executive or whatever, thinks that you're capable of at least trying it, seize the moment, take the opportunity, and it could be destiny. And in this case, it was destiny, because I turned out to be a Gold Glove first baseman, and first base, you don't have to throw the ball too much, which was good. And I went on and have a lot of records there. But if I had said no, I probably wouldn't be with you today.
With 1,207 consecutive games, that's not just physical toughness, it's mental. What kept you
Yep.
showing up every day, day after day, no matter what? Even when I know you've had migraines and your
Yeah.
body's feeling terrible and you're sick, what kept you going?
Well, I think it's two things: a passion for what I did, and that was entertain millions of people, millions of fans, and the second one was a commitment to my team, my organization, which was the team that had drafted me, the Dodgers. Responsibility to my teammates, as somebody who goes out there every day, even when you're not feeling well and you may have the flu and may have a migraine headache, whatever it may be. But that's what you do as a leader. So there were times in the streak I probably could have sat out. Um, I had the flu a couple times migraine headaches, hyperextended elbow, hairline fracture of a finger.
Oh
But
my
I
gosh.
still, yeah, it sounds bad, doesn't it? But
It does. It sounds overwhelming.
I still could go out and felt that I was be able to play better than anybody that could have been put in my position. And adrenaline's an amazing drug. Um, Once you get going, once, especially with the Dodgers, you got 40,000 people plus out there cheering for you or against you on the road. You seem to summon the energy and the focus, and you're right. It's as much mental as it is physical sometimes, mind over matter, so to speak. But that you
Right.
will almost will yourself to another level because you want to be responsible and you want to be that leader.
What's one moment on the field that tested you most, and how did you rise above it?
Gosh, we had so many. I played on great teams in LA and in San Diego. Um, I think it was a sense, and I've got a couple of pictures where, we played the Yankees in 77, 78, and 81.
Hmm.
And I always say the best team I played on was 1977. And we lost that World Series. And I remember, sitting on the bench, and it's a picture of Tom Lasorda and I. And I'm looking one way and he's looking the other. And we're expressionless because we knew we could win that series and be world champions. And we came so close. But in sitting there, you realize that either you lose the game or the other team wins the game. And in case of the Yankees, we didn't play well enough. They seized the moment. They took advantage of our inability to play solid defense and have the pitching we were used to, and they beat us. So you have to put things into perspective, learn from your mistakes. And I've always said we learn more from the negative times in our life than we do from the positive, because the positive ends up being, that equation of hard work and dedication plus opportunity, la la la, yeah, becomes
Right.
success. So,
Right.
so I think those moments when we lost something where we could feel it, you could see, you know, us holding the world championship trophy, that you can do two things: either you don't bounce back from it, or you recommit yourself. And I think that's a lot about what life's all about. Control the things that we can control. The things we
Hmm.
can't, you can't let them slow you down or stop you or negatively affect your life. So losses sometimes may be devastating at the moment, but they're learning experiences and opportunity to go forward and learn from your weakness and win.
I agree. You played for Tommy Lasorda, obviously, for many years. What was he like? And what was his secret of success, do you think?
Well, when I first met him, it was I was signed by the Dodgers, and they sent me to Ogden, Utah, which was rookie league in the Pioneer League, 1968. And I remember walking into the Ben Lomond Hotel. I'd flown in from Florida, and I'm walking down this aisle, and I see this man, who looked like he might be a coach or manager, talking to five or six guys that looked like my age. And as I started to approach, he saw me, and he turned around and he walked at me and he go, you must be the Garv. And nobody ever called me Garv before. But
Uh-huh.
he loved using, nicknames. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, son, welcome to the Dodgers. Your life has changed forever. And it truly did, because over the next, oh my gosh, that was 68, you know, 60 years. Not only was he a manager, but he was a mentor. He's like a second father. He was one of the great psychologists, not only in the game of baseball, but in sports. And you know, I, in many instances, when people ask me about Tom, I said he's the P.T. Barnum of baseball and of sports.
Right.
It's three rings around, Tommy. It's on the field, off the field, and in the book, according to Lasorda. But he knew when to keep us light. He knew when to get on us. He knew when to put an arm around you and when to kick you in the behind. And that's what true leaders do. And I learned a lot from him. He left us about 3 or 4 years ago, but I think we're all better for knowing Tom and having him as our coach.
We all know the Tommy who would blow kisses at the Giants fans at Candlestick and tell fans they might get to heaven a little faster if they root for the Dodgers. What was that like being in the clubhouse with him and your teammates when he was saying these, outrageous things?
Well, I always said you either loved him or you didn't, and you either understood what Tommy was doing in terms of taking, like I mentioned before about the infield and coming from all over parts of the country, that taking a team of 25 men, anywhere from the ages of 38 to 19, and molding them into a team to do probably the most difficult sport created, and that's number one, trying to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. That, by the way, if it hits you, it hurts. And
Yes,
to throw
quite
one,
a bit, I imagine.
right, and to throw one by big, strong hitters with bats makes it extremely difficult. So Tommy needed to understand each of us in order to take those quiet moments where I may have made an error, I may have struck out, that we could talk and put things into perspective. I think that's playing a sport for a living is a blessing. Obviously, God blessed me with eye-hand coordination, certain skills, and the strength to improve on them. But to realize that I was in the entertainment business, and baseball and sports is just that. You don't think of it very often as the entertainment business, but it truly is. And the responsibility, and I say this when I speak, and I said a lot during the campaign. I used to say, how many people go to work with 40,000 people judging them? And everybody would laugh. And I said, that's what you do in sports, and especially in baseball. In baseball, it's 162 games a year, where it's 18 in football and basketball's 80, et cetera. So it's a huge demand on preparing yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually to go out every day and earn the respect of the people that pay your salary.
Most baseball fans don't know that you could have continued football as a defensive back out of Michigan State, but you focused on baseball. Do you ever wonder what might have been?
Well, at that time, way back in the '60s, playing at Michigan State, it was still the era of mostly running the football. It'd be maybe 15, 18 passes a game, which now is relatively nothing. And I got a chance to play in the Big Ten, played against Notre Dame, and played against SC in 1967, which was O.J. Simpson's first year at
I was
SC.
just going to ask that. Did you
All
play
right.
against OJ? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What was
and
that like?
got some great pictures. He ran over me at the goal line. It was 1st and 2, and as a defensive back, you don't line up. SC was not going to pass the ball. They were going to give it to OJ, just depending on what side he went to. And he came right at me, and I made a good tackle, but he carried me in the end zone, and I was there, and he gave me a hand, lifted me up, and he said, "Nice tackle," and I said, "Nice touchdown." And I'd seen him over the years, but I played against a number of great players in football. Loved the game. I think if you play football and reach high school level or college, um, it's indelible. I think every boy should play 1 year of tackle football because it teaches you how to get knocked down and get up. It teaches you that to overcome, little injuries. It teaches you to, we use the phrase be coachable. Uh,
Right.
we use the Garvey phrase, listen, learn, and participate. I used to say that to the kids every morning when we dropped them off at school. But that applies to not only school and life, but to sports too. So I learned a lot from football, which complemented my baseball skills, which, I played 2 years in high school basketball and until my junior year when I ran out of time for everything. And
Right, right.
I wasn't as good at basketball players, but I did it for the reasons that made me a better athlete, and that's body balance and eye-hand coordination and conditioning. So um, when I made 2 points for the other team in basketball and I went in at halftime, it was a shot at half court that happened to go into my
Oh
old
my God.
Southern coach said, Garvey, son, he said, I think it's time you concentrated on baseball and football. And I said, yes, sir. I said, just let me play again in the second half, coach. He said, all right, I'll give you a few minutes. And I ended up scoring 6 points and we won by 4. So it's those things that build on our journey, our history, who we are, the fiber of who we are comes from what we participate in. And I think sports, for my case, was the thing that made me who I am today.
I love this quote of yours. Discipline doesn't end when the uniform comes off. That's when it begins.
Mm.
That's
Absolutely. We only God knows, when we're going to get the ultimate call. But I think what's so very, very important, and the Garvey family uses this a lot, and that is life is God's gift to us. What we do is our gift to Him. And I think every day,
so true.
thank you, if we can affect um, people positively by who we are, what we do, the example that we make, then that's our gift to God. Our God. Are we fallible? Absolutely. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. But if we learn from them, and like we tell the kids, you can make a mistake, but don't make the same mistake twice. Because the first time you may be fooled, the second time you're going to be a fool. And
Right.
I love it when the kids use it nowadays with one of our grandkids. It means they were listening, so.
Yes, and we never think they are, but they actually do come back with those things.
Well,
How do
your
you
mother, you tell them you just don't get it, and then when you see them do that, it means that it has sunk in, and they're thinking for themselves and doing something that's not only going to be good for them, but good for the souls of their mother and father too.
True. My daughter Rose once told me, she said, Mom, your lectures on drugs and alcohol and everything else were just a total waste of time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They were award winning. And she's like,
Mhm.
actually not. What was more impactful to all of us was how your work ethic, how you conduct yourself, how you treat others. That was more important. And that really surprised me. I didn't realize how much our actions actually do affect our kids. Do you find that to be the case?
Well, first of all, I'm proud of you for doing that. And a lot of times we wonder whether our one voice makes a difference, but I think ultimately each of our voices together becomes a loud echo that reaches people. And I remember President Reagan was my mentor and Nancy. And when she started the Just Say No movement, people
Hmm.
said, oh, when just say no, really, nobody's going to listen to that. Not going to affect anybody. But ultimately, over the 8 to 10 and even many years after that she continued to do that. It made a significant impact in that it was an echo that people started to listen to. And
Right.
we can't lessen ourselves by saying, oh, me doing this or just saying that's not going to make a difference. The difference is that we step up and we do it. And I think that's the most important thing.
I agree. How did you balance the pressure of high stakes games with staying grounded and present with your family?
Well, it's interesting. 98% of this country or any place are followers and 2% are leaders. And for some reason, and I was an only child, and I was an organizer at a young age. I'd get the kids out of the house in the summer at 8 o'clock. And parents would be going to work and we'd play baseball all day long. And I'd help choose the teams and all. So at an early age, I kind of took charge. But I think it's so very, very important to want to lead and to want to be out front. And I know in crucial situations, um, two out in the ninth, down by a run, bases loaded. Could be the Yankees, could be the Giants, could be the Reds. I wanted to be up in that situation uh,
Mhm.
because I didn't have a fear of failure. I had an adamant wish to be the hero. And a lot of great athletes or a lot of significant people don't necessarily want to be up when the game's on the line or when life is on the line.
Mhm.
And that's okay. I mean, God gives us free will and choice, and you have to want to make a difference. And if you don't, again, that's fine. But I think most of the time, why I was successful at playoffs and World Series and All Star games, and when games are on the line, is I wanted to be the hero.
Who was your who was the baseball player that you looked up to most when you were a child? Because I know that you were a bat boy for the Brooklyn Dodgers when you were
Yeah,
little. That must have been an exciting moment for you.
yeah, it really was. Parents from New York. Dad was from Long Island. My mother was too. She lived in Baldwin. Dad lived in Glen Cove. My grandfather was a Brooklyn policeman. So dad was a Dodger fan. Mom was a Yankee fan. So growing up, I was born 1948. So in the 50s, the and late 40s, the Yankees pretty much dominated the Dodgers. So my
Mhm.
mother gloated a lot. She was she wasn't too bad, Big Joe, she loved him a lot. So she just said, "Sorry, Joe, we won again." He'd smile. But in end of March of 1956, Dad was a Greyhound bus driver, and he came home and he sat down at dinner and looked at me. He said, "Do you want to skip school tomorrow?" And I said, "Wow, you've never said that before. What are we going to do?" He said, "Well, I got a charter to pick up the Brooklyn Dodgers and take them to St. Petersburg to play the Yankees in an exhibition game. And it would be the first time the two teams had seen each other since the end of September of the fall of 55 when the Dodgers won in 7 games. So that next day, I got a chance to bat boy and lug the heavy bats out to the dugout and the ball bag and the helmets and stand there as the Yankees were taking batting practice and Mickey Mantle was hitting these big home
Wow.
runs into Pinellas Bay, and then all of a sudden having Gil Hodges say to me, "Son, you want to play catch?" And my mother had just bought me a brand new Rawlings Heart of the High glove, and it was the best they made. It was 9.95.
Wow.
and and my dad and two other gentlemen had just started the second little league in Tampa, and it was going to start 4 days later. So I was going to put on a uniform for the first time, have this new mitt. So she said, "Don't you lose it." So what do? You put it on your belt, right? So I'm fumbling. I get the glove and finally get my hand, and Mr. Hodges arched the ball to me, and I throw it back to him, and he's gentle again. I'm thinking, Mr. Hodges, I'm starting Little League on Saturday. I can catch. And I threw it back to him, and I hear, and I look, and it was Mickey hitting this towering fly ball, and boom, uh, ball hits me in the chest. Somebody had said something
No.
to Gil, and
Oh
he
my
turned around
gosh.
and just tossed it to me, and it didn't hurt. Knocked the wind out more, and he came running over. He's a great family man, and he said, "You okay, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, son, and this was the first teaching moment away from my family. He said, "Were you looking at Mickey?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Son, we're the world champions." I looked at him and said, "Yes, sir."
Wow.
So it's like the old, uh, you got to dance with the one you took to the dance
Right.
to the girl for us guys. Don't be dancing with anybody
Wow.
else. Don't be looking at
Wow.
the Yankees. We're the world champions. So I that was quite a lesson I learned too. But that was the beginning of they liked my dad, the job he did. So for the next 7, 8, 9 years, I got a chance to bat boy in spring training and sit next to Campanella and Hodges and Reese and Snyder and Jackie Robinson, and actually Hodges turned out to be, my idol. And I was an infielder. Of course, we talked about me playing third and ending up at first, and having him as my idol was pretty neat.
That's exciting. Who was the most difficult pitcher you ever faced?
Well, that's a question that's time honored over the last 55 years playing baseball, everybody wants to know who the toughest pitcher. And I faced 14 Hall of Fame pitchers, the Tom Seavers and the Marichals and the Gibsons. But I always say the toughest pitcher was Phil Niekro. And
Hmm.
the reason was he threw the knuckleball. And
Interesting.
when he was on, there was no spin. And it was affected by knuckleball pitchers are the only pitchers that like the wind blowing out because a ball that's not moving will really move in the wind or humidity. So when Phil was on, it was a difficult night for all of us because of the way it danced around. And
Right.
there were some nights I'd get right top of the plate and hope he hit me because it was only going 45 miles an hour. And but he was the toughest because I would be a guesstimator. I would watch the pitcher and watch his release point and watch difference between fastball and curveballs and release. So I was a guesstimator, but with Phil, you just let him throw the ball and be patient, just tried to put it in play.
In your opinion, what was the last true baseball dynasty?
That's a good question. It's generational. You always think about the Yankees, the great Yankees of
Right.
20s and 30s. Um, at times, the Cardinals were had their dynasties, and then the Reds, had theirs. The Reds and Dodgers was the greatest rivalry back in the 70s and early 80s. 8 of the 10 years from 73 to 85, one of us went to the World Series. So those were great teams. Yankees had great teams. Um, I think it comes down to, and the Dodgers were always known as an organization that was built on fundamentals and built on scouting and picking not necessarily the best baseball players, but the best athletes who played baseball. And they
Hmm.
could take them and turn them into professional baseball players. And I think that was why they were so good for so long. I always say the 73 to 85 Dodgers was the golden era. Are they, approximating it in this generation now over the last 10 years? Absolutely. So, there's an old saying, he or she was good for so long, they became great. And I think that's how you measure great teams and great generations.
If you were the commissioner of the MLB, what's one rule change you would make, if
Hmm.
any?
Well, there was a rule a couple of years ago. There's a couple of things about um, not running into catchers at home plate. They made the bags bigger. 20 seconds between pitches. They tried to speed up the game, which I think is fine.
Hmm.
What has happened is they've shortened the game to the amount of time that we use to play the games. So say in the
Hmm.
70s and 80s, average game was 2 minutes and 20 or 2,028 minutes, maybe 30. Then it got to 3:05, 3:10.
Hmm.
Now it's back in that proximity, which pace is good for the game and good for the fans. So
Right.
the not colliding with the catcher though, being an all defensive back, I would have missed that a lot.
Right.
A lot of the catchers are really blocking the plate without the ball now, but that's just me saying that. So
What's one feat or accomplishment you're most proud of that most people aren't aware of?
uh gosh, my life's been pretty much an open book. On the field, uh it's winning a world championship, which is the ultimate for a team sport, but the 1,207 consecutive games, which is a National League record and fourth all time, I take a lot of pride in because it makes a statement for who I am, my commitment to the game, my passion, my responsibility to the fans and to the game of baseball, and to once I retired, represent the game as an ambassador uh, for young people.
Hmm.
Uh, and we're in the memory business. Um, if you were to say, what's the most important currency we have in life, you and I, and men and women, so children, it's memories. And in
Agreed.
sports, the same thing. We're in the memory business, creating memories. So when I walk around every day, somebody, Christine, will say something to me. or a nod or a
Hmm.
wave that they recognize it's me, and I wave back. And sometimes, like just a little while ago at lunch, uh, I know the man wanted to stand up and come over, but been talking to his wife, and she said, "Don't you do that." And I just got up, went over, and said hello.
Oh my
And
gosh, he must have
I
been
said,
so thrilled.
"You a Dodger fan?" Yes. Yesterday it was a Padre fan. Last weekend it was a Cincinnati fan that remembered the great rivalry between the two teams. So that's what I mean by the memory business, and
Right.
to sustain it, I think is our obligation.
What do you miss playing? What do you miss? Like, what are some things that you miss since you've retired?
I miss entertaining the fans. I had a great currency with the fans. Um, Over the years, playing in front of tens and millions of fans. And I think one time we tried to do metrics on how many people actually saw or listened to a game I played in, and it's probably over a billion if you think about radio,
Wow,
TV, in person. And
remarkable.
now there's even more platforms. Um, but I think that that opportunity and responsibility, and you and I know I ran for the U.S. Senate last year. And in the beginning of my campaign, I talked about Steve Garvey 2.0. 1.0, they know the baseball player,
Right,
the things I've
right.
accomplished off the field, prostate cancer foundation and survivor, things like that. But 2.0 um, was somebody that they knew, have known for a long period of time. They know who I am, who is willing to stand up and represent the people of California, and willing to, when nobody else wanted to, in a state that's heavily divided, heavily one-sided in terms of registered voters between Democrats and Republicans, that was willing to
Hmm.
talk about the things that make a difference in life. And
Right.
I was one of the first, I believe, to talk about common sense and compassion and uh, and consensus. And when I literally won the primary, it stunned not only people in California, but the country. And people said, "Why would you do that? You knew it was going to be difficult." I said, "I've never shied away from a difficult situation."
Hmm.
And when at one morning in April of 2023, and I got up and I turned the TV on, and it was a dysfunctional Washington and a snarkiness between our elected officials who weren't
Right,
representing us. They were running for power and wealth. And
right.
I tapped my wife Candace on the shoulder, and she woke up and gave me a kiss on the cheek, like you would. And I said, "Honey, let's run for the U.S. Senate." And she did what any woman would probably do. She gave me a little smile and turned over. And I thought, well, maybe it wasn't the best timing. And then she turned back and she said, "Don't you think you're a little young for the Senate?" And we started
That's
laughing
true.
because I
That's
was
funny. She's funny.
basically 74, 75 at the time. And that started 3 months of a journey finding out if there was a pathway to running, and that if there was, could we put a team together that we could reach, all corners of California. People don't realize it's 800 miles north and south, 250 east and west. It takes a tremendous effort to reach from the farmers in central and northern and southern
Right.
California to the technology areas, to dealing with issues from homelessness to water to uh,
Fires.
crime, all those
Right.
things. And to know that, you'll have basically a short amount of time. My opponents combined, Barbara Lee and Katie Porter and Adam Schiff, had over 60 years of experience. Um, and when it was all said and done, we didn't win the race, but I think we turned, people laugh when I say we turned California pink, and and we're going to
True.
turn it purple. And the reason you want it purple is then you have two voices, and we're never better in our cities and our states and in our country than when you have two opposing voices. And I use the example of Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan when I was at a state dinner for the Prime Minister of Ireland, '84. And I actually sat with the president, and there was Sandra Day O'Connor, one of
Hmm.
our Supreme Court justices, and
Right.
Maureen O'Hara was over here, and and Brady, who had been shot, when the president was shot,
Right.
and Tip O'Neill and Reagan. I think Miss O'Reilly was sitting in the middle, President's wife, and we all sat down in the beginning, and President Reagan looked at me. He said, "Stephen," he's calling me Stephen, "have I ever
Hmm.
told you about when I was a sportscaster, baseball broadcaster for WHO in Des Moines, Iowa?" And I said, "No, sir, you didn't." And O'Neill goes, "Not again, Ronnie." And we all laughed. And he gave him that, "Yeah, I'll get to you." And for 10 minutes, he talked about calling a game between the Cardinals and Cubs where the ticker tape went down. And for 8 minutes, he had Hack Wilson, an old catcher, fouling the ball off until finally the tape started, and he fouled out. But the two of them were a 180 in terms of philosophy and uh, and determination, but they worked together for the good of the country. And I say that, and I saw it other times too. That isn't that what life in America is really all about.
One would
Let's
hope. I just
let's
find it, do you think it's possible? I mean, it must have been really eye-opening for you and for your wife when you were running for Senate to see you had been part of a team, different teams throughout your whole life, but yet in politics, it seems like things are so divided. And it doesn't seem like we're working as one country. It's so, Republican or Democrat. Did that did that surprise you, or was it kind of what you had expected to find?
Well, it was quite a journey for um, let's say 15 months leading up to the announcement on October 10th um, of 23. And of course, there's never a good day because 3 days earlier was the war broke out in Israel. And
Hmm.
and I said that our announcement day, we reached 20 million people, had a great PR department. And I said, I will go wherever the voice of the people want me to go to know what the real truth is. And I
Hmm.
will tell you whether I like it or not. And we went to Israel at the end of June for a week. And I saw the kibbutz that was the initial thrust of Hamas. We went to the site where they had the overnight music festival where 350
Right.
young men and women died brutally, and met with you know, the men and women who run, Israel, the small
Hmm.
countries. You could fit 7 Israels in California. That's how small it is.
Wow.
So it was.
Remarkable.
I came home and I had a press conference in Beverly Hills at the park there, and that became a journey when all of a sudden there was a turning point where we started to see an attack on the Israeli people in life like that.
Hmm.
But it was even more than that. The attack on our police, soft on crime, um, you know, leaders throughout the state, and why this great state that I said I remember when it was the heartbeat of America, and now
Hmm.
it's just a murmur, and because of
Hmm.
its lack of leadership. So it was a great journey. I started 30 runs down. It's two to
Right.
one. It's 2 to 1 in registration, so 33, percent to or 67% of that. But we got down in single digits, and ultimately I broke a record, 6.3 million votes for conservative. And interestingly enough, I received the fourth largest amount of votes last year in America, behind Trump and Harris and Schiff. So we've got that currency now. I've started a new super PAC. We have the Garvey Legacy Foundation 501(c)(3), and we're
Right.
not going to stop the momentum that we're building on.
Let's go back to baseball a little bit. What are some of the MLB records that you think will never be broken?
Oh gosh, I think that Pete Rose is at 42-67
Hmm.
lifetime hits, consecutive game streak, because they don't let guys play more than 12, 15 games in a row now anyway.
Right.
Um, Records like that at a different time and place when guys wanted to play every day and could,
Hmm.
as compared to metrics now and sabermetrics, that dictate when a player should, starting 7 or 8, 9 players are going to play every day. But 7 players will start, 2 players are going to come in and out because the metrics say they hit a pitcher better or whatever. So our infield, like we talked about in the beginning of Say and Russell and Lopes, myself, 8.5 years together, 8.5
Wow, that's
years, 4
amazing.
guys. What we accomplished, the statistics, averaging over 140 games, a piece,
Wow.
going to 4, World Series and winning a world championship. I don't, because the economics, I don't know how it can happen again. You can keep 4 guys together for 8.5 years.
Right.
So
Right.
it's records like that I think if you think about it logically and with common sense, they'll last forever. You've done a great job. You've
Oh,
covered all
thank
the
you.
bases, as we say. So I want to
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for having
much.
me. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's been such an honor. I've watched you when I was a little girl. My dad was a baseball player, and I'm just honored that I had time, which to me is the greatest gift that you can give to me is time. So I want to thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your incredible journey with me. You've shown that greatness isn't just built on talent, it's built on consistency, character, and the courage to keep showing up long after the stadium lights have gone out. Your story is a powerful reminder that being too busy can't be a badge of purpose when it's fueled by heart discipline and the drive to serve something bigger than yourself. We are so grateful for your wisdom, your leadership, and your legacy. And thank you for inspiring us to lead, to preserve, and to never stop evolving. Until next time, I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy. Thank you so much.